CEP America presents coding and documentation provided by MedAmerica Billing Services.
Hello, I'm Dawn Hansen.
And I'm Debbie Ellis. Today's broadcast will focus on the documentation requirements you must meet to be appropriately reimbursed for the services you provide, and how to ensure that your documentation will stand up to an audit. We will provide an in-depth look into evaluation and management services provided in the emergency department and inpatient settings. What are critical care and observation services, and how are they documented? We will cover the common diagnostics, interventions, and other procedures that emergency department providers perform, as well as provide you with tips to working with template documentation systems and how to communicate with your billing company to ensure complete and accurate documentation.
The Office of Inspector General, Department of Health and Human Services announces more than $3 billion in expected recoveries from audit and investigative recoveries during the first 6 months of this fiscal year. Also reported are exclusions of more than 1,900 individuals and entities from participating in the federal health care programs, nearly 300 criminal actions, and 167 civil actions for the first half of the year. As Health and Human Services programs expand, so do the many federal, state, and local audit investigation and enforcement entities to protect these programs from fraud and abuse. This puts physician documentation under the magnifying glass. It has become increasingly imperative for providers to understand and follow documentation guidelines and submit the most appropriate procedure codes for the service documented. Since 85% of all CPT codes utilized in the emergency department are evaluation and management codes, we'll first look at these guidelines for these codes. Debbie?
There are 3 key components in selecting an evaluation and management codes. These are history, physical exam, and medical decision making. The history is composed of 3 areas: history of present illness, review of systems, and past family and social history, which is tied together by the chief complaint. The chief complaint is a statement of the reason for the patient's presentation to the provider and usually is documented in the patient's own words. The patient's chief complaint may be used to assign diagnosis codes and to justify the E&M service or diagnostic test. The history of present illness is comprised of 8 elements. This section must be documented by the clinician. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, also known as CMS, requires 1 to 3 HPI elements for levels 1 and 3, and 4 or more elements for levels 4 and 5. A higher acuity patient missing the required 4 elements can result in the encounter being downcoded from a level 5 to a level 3, which can equate to a loss of more than $100. The next subcomponent of the history section is review of systems. There are 14 systems. Documentation should cover elements of ROS as it relates to the patient's chief complaint. CMS guidelines require only the related system to be documented for levels 1 through 3, 2 to 9 systems for level 4, and 10 or more systems for level 5. A higher acuity patient missing complete ROS of 10 or more systems can result in the encounter being downcoded from a level 5 to a level 4, which equates to a loss of revenue of at least $50. It is acceptable to utilize a qualifying statement such as all other systems reviewed and are negative after obtaining a complete review of 10 or more systems.
In a recent viewer question, we were asked how to handle the review of systems section for a patient that was sent over from their care facility and claims to have no complaints.
Record any history obtained from persons other than the patient, such as EMS, family member, or personnel from the care facility. These elements add to the complexity and provides medical necessity to support your service. Past medical history is a review of the patient's past experience with illnesses, injuries,